He's been involved in politics for 26 years, first as city councillor, then regional councillor, and the last 8 years serving 2 terms as mayor of the city of St. Catharines. Now Brian McMullan has begun his move back into private life with a send-off at the Meridian Centre. We're standing here in the Meridian Centre. Lots of things happened in your 8 years as mayor.
Well, they did, Mike, and I've always said publicly, and I mean it from the heart, that an incredible team, an incredible council, an incredible staff. It's an exciting time in the city of St. Catharines right now, and just really proud to have been mayor for the past 8 years.
Tell me how you think your legacy of these 8 years stands up against perhaps some of the mayors of the past.
Well, I don't compare a lot. I think it stands up well. But what I'm really proud of, and it's hard to quantify, but along with all the new infrastructure and facilities I felt we really needed as a community, again with the support of council and staff and the community as a whole, a real sense of optimism. It's sort of hard to quantify, to put a value on that, but people have a feeling there's a really bright future here in the city of St. Catharines. We've got a kind of firmed up our role within the region as kind of that cultural and administrative hub. And so that sense of optimism and pride in our community, that hopefully will be one of the legacies that I leave.
Now, this whole journey for you began back around 1988 when you were elected to council. You spent some time on the region and now as mayor. So it's 26 some odd years of public service. How do you fill that hole in your life going forward?
Well, I'm returning to the private sector, which I've enjoyed in the past, and I'm sure I'll enjoy again. There will be a hole, though. I mean, I've always said this is more than just a job, and to be such a part of our community, the people out in the city are what are the memories that I'll take away with me, are what I really cherish the most, I was going to say. We have a wonderful community made up of wonderful people, and so I'm sure it fully hasn't hit me yet. I'm sure it will maybe come December, but a sense of pride and satisfaction at being able to serve as mayor in St. Catharines.
Brian has done so much in this community over the past 8 years. When you look at the downtown, when you look at the investments that have been made, they've been driven largely by Brian's vision. So it's going to be big shoes, and I'm looking forward to the challenge.
But Lou, tell me what Brian's tenure meant to community care during these last 8 years.
Well, certainly Brian has been a great friend of community care. He has always been there when we needed him. We met on several occasions during the year, each and every year, just to know what's going on in the community. Brian wanted to know the vulnerable side of his community. He spoke to me about it. He offered to support in any way he could. He brought credibility to some of the issues that we had been challenged to get on the forefront. He was a friend of everyone in the community, in my opinion, and he certainly never forgot the little guy who was struggling to make ends meet.
What does a city government lose when someone with that much experience steps off into private life?
Well, they lose the institutional memory and the connections that person has, so it takes a while to reestablish those. Brian was very well known at the federal and provincial level. Indeed, he was known internationally because of his work with the Great Lakes organization. So I think you're going to find that it'll take a little while to get that back. He still has those connections. I'm sure if someone were to call him to ask his advice, he'd be more than happy to give it. But there's an institutional memory there, there's connections, and they're positive connections. People don't look back and say, he was a nasty guy to deal with or anything of that kind. He was always very good, very positive. He was always well prepared as well when he came into a meeting. And I think that made a difference, very positive difference for St. Catharines. We're standing in a building now that Brian should be justifiably proud of because he was one of the leaders in bringing this to fruition.
Looking at the gathering here tonight at this send-off for you, and there's a lot of familiar faces, a lot of faces I don't recognize, but people from all walks of the community. How do you feel with this crowd here?
I feel great, and that's what St. Catharines is all about. As you said, Mike, all walks of the community. We come together as a community, whether it be at folk arts or grape and wine or events like the Meridian Centre grand opening a few weeks ago. We come together as a community, and that's what makes St. Catharines a very, very special place.
Reporting for The Source at the Meridian Centre in St. Catharines, I'm Mike Balsam.